Get hyped, Broncos Country. Because imagine realizing Sean Payton just exposed exactly why Super Bowl 60 slipped away and the master plan he's crafting to guarantee you never miss out again. Secret details just spilled out, straight from Dove Valley's core. And believe me, this isn't idle chatter. This completely transforms your entire perspective. Before uncovering every secret found, you need to handle two fast tasks right now. First, smash that like button if you demand seeing the Broncos dominate the Super Bowl next season because you refuse to wait another 10 years, and drop Go Broncos below. By 2026, you'll return stronger. So drown that comment section in pure orange and blue pride immediately. Brace yourself now, because the intel about to be dropped will radically shift how you view this franchise's destiny. Let's dive straight into the brutal truth. The entire offensive command structure remains totally up in the air, believe it or not. You haven't heard any confirmation if Sean Payton keeps calling the shots, or if Davis Webb steps up to seize that critical control. Reports from insiders suggest that specific detail might surprisingly be the least of your worries right now. What truly counts isn't the caller, but the execution method. And you know that entire process absolutely has to evolve immediately. Bo Nix's speed in the huddle has officially raised some serious red flags for the coaching staff. He occasionally drags his feet, snapping the ball, and Payton confessed he needs to speed up sending those signals after every single down. You also need to sharpen focus on instantly analyzing results, especially when a play disastrously loses precious yardage. You have to question immediately why that specific decision was even greenlit to begin with. Year 3 of the Nix-Payton alliance must deliver superior flow and unity, but that only happens if your communication gets lightning fast and ruthless. Payton's system is famously tangled, packed with endless jargon and dense codes, which might actually be fueling your struggles. Whispers during camp claimed Payton tested single-word commands to speed things up, a tactic that sadly vanished before the real games began. With Davis Webb potentially seizing the headset, could you witness a revival of that streamlined strategy, which would be a total game-changer for a young gun like Bo Nix? Now let's confront the massive off-season mission Payton personally highlighted: fixing your ground game. He insists this is the single most critical flaw you absolutely must correct. You aren't just hearing about adding simple plays. He demands a total revolution to build a relentless rushing force that dominates every matchup. Running from under center was crucial. Through the first 10 games of 2025 with J.K. Dobbins, you averaged an impressive 4.5 yards per rush in that formation, putting you at 7th across the entire league. Once Dobbins fell, that stat crashed hard to 3.2 yards, dragging your ranking down to a pathetic 26th. That proves exactly how essential he was to your success. But here is the brutal twist. Despite his skills, Dobbins hasn't survived a full season intact and has endured 7 season-ending blows, which is a terrifying reality. So what is your move? With Dobbins entering free agency, alongside restricted options like Jaleel McLaughlin and exclusive rights for Tyler Beatty, you face some incredibly tough choices. Payton might scour the open market hunting for a significantly tougher weapon. Names floating around include Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, and a potentially more affordable, yet lethal option in Rachaad White. Any of these runners could inject the stability and explosive power your offense desperately craves to keep the chains moving and completely dominate the clock. You must realize that even with a lead, your under-center rushing was weak, managing a meager 3.1 yards, ranking 23rd overall. That is a glaring warning sign because elite teams seal victories on the ground, and you simply weren't doing that enough. Payton demands you commit to a brutal power football mentality involving 2 backs, heavy tight end sets, and a run-first scheme that unlocks the entire field. He isn't abandoning the shotgun, but he insists you run from under center with violent purpose and pure physicality. Do not forget for a second how this ties directly back to your quarterback, Bo Nix. After Dobbins fell, Bo's performance skyrocketed, climaxing with what you'd call his finest career showing against the Packers. Yet, a crushing ground game is mandatory, not just to relieve your quarterback, but to unleash the full fury of play action and crack the red zone wide open. Discussing the red zone brings up another critical offseason obsession for Sean Payton and the crew. During Bo Nix's rookie campaign in 2024, you saw a red zone touchdown rate of 62.5%, which sadly dipped to 57.9% in 2025, a 4.5% drop that wasted way too many scoring chances. Insiders note that solving this puzzle is mandatory if you want to break into the offensive top 10 for the first time since 2014. Your struggles inside the 20 were complicated and came from every direction. To begin, you must face the fact that Denver converted only 12 of 33 third downs inside the red zone, a success rate barely scraping 33%, which is simply unacceptable. Your rushing efficiency in the red zone ranked a mediocre 17th league-wide under Payton, while Bo's completion rate in that critical area dipped from 64% down to 60% year over year. You know exactly what killed the momentum. The play calling was painfully predictable. You and the analysts alike noticed a frustrating addiction to screen passes near the goal line, a tactic that fails to translate from college Saturdays to the NFL. Payton banked on Bo's precision to force those throws, but the yards after the catch rarely materialized. It felt like a cowardly safety valve when creativity ran dry, and opposing defenses read it instantly. Looking at the road ahead, time is working against you. With free agency looming just 31 days from this moment until the tampering window opens, your front office must lock in a concrete strategy immediately. You are past the point where simply plugging leaks will save the ship. If you want to end this 11-year drought and return to championship relevance with a top 10 offense, you have to hit a bullseye on every single move, starting with the backfield. Suppose you choose to move on from J.K. Dobbins because you cannot trust his durability. That forces you to either invest in a proven veteran or roll the dice on a rookie. A name like Travis Etienne offers the perfect blend of explosiveness and flexibility. While Kenneth Walker delivers more raw, bruising power, Rachaad White might be your most logical target, cheaper, fresher legs, and capable of staying on the field for all 3 downs. But remember, talent means nothing without availability, and you cannot survive another season derailed by injuries to your running backs. And where does the offensive line fit into this equation? Even if the leaks didn't highlight it, you cannot discuss fixing the run game without addressing the men in the trenches. The success of any ball carrier is tied inextricably to the consistency of the blockers up front. If you intend to forge a physical identity, that line must dominate in short yardage battles, remaining disciplined and cohesive enough to handle the condensed formations Payton is eager to utilize more often. You also have to consider how Bo Nix evolves within this system. Your third-year quarterback took massive strides in 2025 after a rough start. That performance against the Packers turned heads across the entire league, but you cannot expect him to carry the entire offense on his shoulders every week. Not just yet. That is why a reconstructed ground attack is vital. It gives Bo the support structure he needs to dominate, especially against elite defenses. Speaking of dominance, let's circle back to the red zone, because that is where championships are truly decided. Payton's philosophy of 4-point plays explains everything you need to know. Every failed third down inside the 20 is essentially 4 points lost, and those wasted chances stack up to become the difference between a wild-card spot and a first-round bye. Or in your case last season, the razor-thin margin between a Super Bowl dream and an early playoff exit. Do not forget, your red zone touchdown percentage plummeted from 62.5% in 2024 to just 57.9% in 2025. You cannot allow that regression to continue. Not when you compete in an AFC loaded with explosive firepower. One of the biggest drivers of that decline was predictability. Defenses knew exactly what you wanted to do inside the 20. You lacked the creative wrinkles, the misdirection, and the isolation concepts designed to exploit mismatches. Too many of your drives stalled for field goals or came up empty. So how do you fix it? Beyond hiring a specialist, Payton must unlock the playbook and trust Bo to make the high-level reads. Just as importantly, he must equip Bo with the tools required to win. You need tight ends who box out defenders, backs who catch passes fluidly, and receivers with the route-running nuance to separate instantly in tight quarters. This brings you full circle, because none of this works if the operation isn't clean and efficient. Whether it is Sean Payton or Davis Webb on the headset, your offense must break the huddle faster. You can't burn timeouts in the red zone or take delay penalties on critical downs. Every second is precious. Every yard counts. And the decisions you make in those final 20 yards will define your season. You also cannot ignore how the offense's identity might shift depending on who calls the plays. If it is Davis Webb, you might see a simplified approach, higher tempo, and a fresh perspective on using Bo's skill set. Webb has worked in the trenches with Bo for the last 2 years. He knows your quarterback's tendencies, rhythm, and strengths, and that familiarity could lead to smoother execution. If Payton keeps the play-calling duties, you can expect a continuation of the complex, highly structured system he is famous for. You realize this scheme is deadly when firing on all cylinders, yet you can't ignore how easily it could crush a rookie under its weight. You have to strike a delicate balance, deciding whether to simplify the game plan or let Bo control his destiny at the scrimmage line. You absolutely cannot overlook the critical importance of having adaptable personnel. Payton demanded that you retain the specific power to execute plays out of the process.